General Chris Walker stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship, watching the massive fleet assemble for the final assault on Zephyr Prime. Ships from 40 different species floated in formation around them, the largest military force in recorded galactic history. "Final count is 8,000 ships," reported Admiral Hayes. "Everything from human destroyers to Veltar dreadnoughts." Walker nodded, but his expression remained grim. The Vecthar home system was the most heavily defended location in the galaxy. Orbital weapons platforms, automated defense drones, and the remnants of their fleet all waited in the space around their capital world. "Intelligence reports from our scouts?" Walker asked. Captain Morrison appeared on the communication screen. "The Vecthar are desperate, General. They're activating weapons we've never seen before. Some kind of planet-killer device. Dr. Blake's voice came through the speakers. "I've analyzed the energy readings Jake transmitted. It's not just a planet killer. It's designed to sterilize entire star systems. If they activate it..." He didn't need to finish. Everyone understood the implications. The Vecthar would rather destroy everything than face defeat. Lieutenant Amy Brooks led the Special Operations team preparing for the ground assault. Her job was to infiltrate the Imperial Palace and capture the Vecthar leadership before they could activate their doomsday weapon. "Intelligence suggests the control center is deep underground," Brooks briefed her team. "Heavily guarded, multiple redundant security systems. We get one shot at this." The assault began at dawn, Zephyr Prime local time. The Alliance fleet moved in from multiple directions, spreading the defensive fire across as wide an area as possible. The first wave hit the outer defense platforms like a tsunami. Alien ships that had been enslaved for centuries fought alongside their former human enemies, all united by the knowledge of what the Vecthar had done. Commander Kate Sullivan piloted a strike fighter through the chaos, leading a squadron of mixed human and alien ships toward the planet's surface. Her job was to clear a path for the ground assault teams. "Defensive fire is heavy but uncoordinated," she reported. "They're not used to fighting an enemy this large." The Vecthar had spent millennia conquering one species at a time, never facing united resistance. Their tactics weren't designed for this kind of battle, but they still had advantages. The orbital weapons platforms began firing massive energy, beams that could destroy entire ships with a single hit. Several Alliance vessels were lost in the first exchange. That's when Tony Rodriguez's final innovation proved its worth. Instead of trying to outfight the superior Vecthar technology, the human ships used their chaotic, unpredictable tactics to confuse the automated defense systems. "Their targeting computers can't track us," reported one pilot. "Every time they lock on, we change course in ways their programming can't predict." The Vecthar had designed their defenses to fight rational, organized enemies. Human pilots who made random course changes and attacked from impossible angles broke their mathematical models. On the planet's surface, Lieutenant Brooks and her team fought their way through the Imperial Palace. The Vecthar defenders were fierce but predictable, following the same tactical patterns they had used for thousands of years. "They're falling back to the control center," Brooks reported, "but they're sealing the passages behind them." Dr. Blake, monitoring from orbit, had been studying the palace's structure. "There's another way in. The old Zephyrian archives we found mentioned a maintenance tunnel system. Using maps from the conquered Zephyrian civilization, Brooks led her team through forgotten passages that the Vecthar had never bothered to secure. They emerged directly into the control center, catching the defenders completely by surprise. High Commander Vextail stood before a massive control panel, his hand hovering over what could only be the activation switch for the doomsday weapon. "Stay back!" Vextail snarled. "I will not let you inferior species contaminate our perfect order!" Brooks aimed her weapon at him, but she knew she was too far away to stop him if he decided to activate the device. That's when Jake Morrison appeared, from another entrance, having followed a different route through the tunnels. He was close enough to tackle Vextal before he could reach the controls. The two of them fought desperately on the floor of the control center while Brooks and her team secured the doomsday weapon. Vextal was stronger than Morrison, but the human was more adaptable, using techniques the alien had never encountered. "It's over," Morrison said as he pinned Vextal to the ground. "Your empire is finished." "You understand nothing," Vextal replied. "We are the final evolution of intelligence. Order over chaos, perfection over the random mess you call life." Brooks looked at the weapon controls, trying to understand the alien technology. "Dr. Blake, we need help shutting this thing down." Blake's voice crackled through her communicator. "Don't shut it down. Reverse it." "What do you mean?" "The weapon works by broadcasting a specific frequency that disrupts biological processes. If we reverse the polarity and boost the power, we can turn it into a galaxy-wide communication array." Working together, human engineers and alien scientists modified the Doomsday device. Instead of broadcasting death, it would broadcast truth. The complete archives of Vecthar crimes, transmitted to every corner of the galaxy simultaneously. The final battle raged in space above them as the modifications were completed. Alliance ships pressed their attack against the remaining Vecthar fleet, suffering heavy losses but never retreating. When the modified weapon activated, its effect was immediate and overwhelming. Every inhabited world in the galaxy received the same message: the complete, unedited truth about the Vecthar deception. Species that had never heard of humans or Zephyrians learned about the systematic genocide campaign. Civilizations on the edge of Vecthar space realized they had been marked for elimination. The entire galaxy understood, for the first time, the scope of the threat they had all faced. The psychological effect on the Vecthar forces was devastating. Many of their ships simply stopped fighting, their crews overwhelmed by the weight of their exposed crimes. Admiral Hayes coordinated the final phase of the battle from his command ship. "All remaining Vecthar forces are surrendering or fleeing the system," he reported. "We have achieved complete victory, but the victory came at a heavy cost. Thousands of ships had been lost, millions of beings killed in the fighting. The galaxy would remember the price of allowing evil to go unchallenged for so long." In the aftermath, the Alliance faced the enormous task of rebuilding a galactic civilization based on cooperation rather than domination. The Vecthar territories were liberated, their enslaved populations freed after centuries of oppression. Captain Morrison found himself appointed as humanity's first galactic ambassador, working with representatives from dozens of species to create new institutions that would prevent another empire like the Vecthar from rising. "The key is diversity," Morrison explained to the new Galactic Council. "The Vecthar succeeded because they made everyone think alike, act alike. Our strength comes from our differences." Dr. Blake established a new research institute dedicated to studying the historical records recovered from the Vecthar archives. 46 civilizations had been completely destroyed, but their knowledge and culture could be partially reconstructed from the detailed files their killers had kept. "We can't bring back the dead," Blake said during the Institute's opening ceremony. "But we can make sure they're remembered. Every species the Vecthar destroyed contributed something unique to the galaxy. We owe it to them to preserve what we can." The Veltar established memorial worlds where the lost civilizations were honored. The Corvani Republic funded reconstruction efforts on worlds that had been damaged in the fighting. The crystalline Silmar shared their advanced technology freely with species that needed to rebuild. But perhaps the most important change was psychological. The galaxy had learned that it could work together, that cooperation was stronger than conquest. The fear and isolation that had allowed the Vecthar to succeed for so long was replaced by communication and mutual support. Ambassador Helen Carter, now Earth's senior diplomat to the Galactic Council, often reflected on how much had changed. Humanity had gone from being branded as galactic criminals to serving as peacekeepers and mediators. We were the right species at the right time, she told a gathering of young diplomats. Our stubbornness and refusal to surrender gave the galaxy time to see the truth, but it was everyone working together that won the war. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UFS Discovery, watching the massive structure grow larger on the main screen. The ring-shaped station was bigger than anything humans had ever built. It stretched across space like a giant metal donut, glowing with strange blue lights. "How big is that thing?" Morrison asked his science officer. Lisa Barnes checked her instruments twice before answering. "About 500 kilometers across, sir. The metal appears to be some kind of advanced alloy we have never seen before." Morrison had been exploring space for 15 years. He had found dead planets, empty systems, and strange rocks floating in the dark. But this was the first time he had found proof that other intelligent life existed in the galaxy. "Any signs of life?" he asked. "Yes, sir. The station is definitely active. I am picking up energy readings and what looks like ship traffic moving around it." The Discovery had been sent to explore the Kepler 442 system after long-range sensors detected unusual energy signatures. The Terran Federation wanted to know what was out there. Morrison's job was to look, learn, and report back. He was not supposed to make first contact, but sometimes space exploration did not go according to plan. "Open a channel," Morrison ordered. "Let's try to say hello." Lisa worked at her station, sending out basic mathematical sequences and peaceful intentions on multiple frequencies. The response came faster than anyone expected. The main screen flickered and suddenly showed a face that was definitely not human. The creature had pale gray skin, 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern, and a mouth filled with sharp teeth. When it spoke, the universal translator worked hard to make sense of the alien language. "I am Sub-Commander Zethric of the Vorthak Dominion. You will identify yourselves and explain your presence in our territory." Morrison stepped forward, trying to look calm and friendly. "I am Captain Morrison of the human vessel Discovery. We come in peace, seeking contact with other intelligent species. We did not know this system belonged to anyone." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Humans, we have heard rumors of your kind spreading through the local systems like a disease. You build colonies without permission and claim planets as if you own them." "We are explorers and colonists," Morrison replied carefully. "We mean no harm to anyone. Perhaps we can discuss this peacefully." Sub-Commander Zethric seemed to consider this. "The Dominion has ruled this region of space for over 10,000 years. We will allow you to send a diplomatic team to our station." "Come alone, Captain Morrison. Bring only essential personnel." The connection ended before Morrison could respond. He looked around his bridge at the worried faces of his crew. Chief Engineer Tony Clark was shaking his head. "I don't like this, Captain. That thing looked at us like we were bugs." "Maybe so," Morrison said. "But this is the chance humanity has been waiting for. First contact with an advanced alien civilization we have to try." 3 hours later, Morrison and Lisa Barnes took a shuttle to the alien station. The docking bay was enormous, filled with ships that looked nothing like human designs. Everything was smooth curves and strange angles, built from materials that seemed to shift color in the light. The aliens who met them looked similar to the one on the screen, but bigger and wearing what appeared to be military uniforms. They walked upright on 2 legs like humans, but moved with a strange flowing motion. "Follow us," one of them said in perfect English. "Do not touch anything. Do not stray from the path." The station's interior was just as impressive as its size suggested. The corridors were wide enough for vehicles to drive through, and the walls were covered with displays showing star maps, energy readings, and streams of alien text. Morrison tried to memorize as much as possible. They were led to a large room, where several aliens sat around a curved table. The one at the center wore more decorations than the others, and had scars across his gray face. "I am Fleet Commander Korvash," he said. "Welcome to Station Prime, humans. We have many questions about your species." The next few hours felt like a mixture of scientific discussion and police interrogation. The aliens wanted to know about human technology, military strength, colony locations, and population numbers. Morrison answered some questions and deflected others, following standard first contact protocols. Lisa took readings with her scanner whenever possible, gathering data about alien technology and biology. The Vorthak allowed this, seeming curious about human science. "Your species is quite young," Commander Korvash observed. "We have been spacefaring for 50,000 years. We have seen many species rise and fall during that time." "What happened to them?" Lisa asked. "Some joined the Dominion willingly. Others chose to fight us and were destroyed. A few simply went extinct on their own." The alien's tone was matter-of-fact, as if discussing the weather. Morrison felt a chill, but kept his expression neutral. "The Terran Federation believes in peaceful coexistence. We hope our two civilizations can find common ground." "Perhaps," Korvash said. "The Dominion values order above all else. Chaos and rebellion are not tolerated. Species that cannot adapt to our ways become problematic." After 6 hours of meetings, the humans were escorted back to their shuttle. The aliens had been polite but cold, treating the humans like interesting specimens rather than equals. "What do you think?" Morrison asked Lisa as they flew back to the Discovery. "Their technology is incredible," she replied, studying her scanner readings. "But something feels wrong. They kept asking about our military defenses and colony locations. That's not normal for peaceful first contact." Back on the Discovery, Morrison sent a detailed report to Earth while his crew analyzed the data they had gathered. The Universal Translator had recorded hours of alien conversations, giving linguists their first taste of the Vorthak language. Commander Rick Taylor, the ship's tactical officer, was studying the sensor logs when he noticed something odd. "Captain, take a look at this. While we were on their station, they were scanning our ship with some very powerful sensors." Morrison looked at the data. "What kind of scanning?" "Deep structure analysis, weapon signatures, shield frequencies, engine output. They mapped every system on our ship down to the smallest details." "Could be standard security procedures," Morrison said, but he was starting to share his crew's unease. "Maybe, sir. But they also launched several small probes while we were docked. The probes headed in different directions after leaving the station." Lisa looked up from her own work. "I have been analyzing their technology. Captain, these aliens are not just advanced. They are thousands of years ahead of us in every area. Their weapons, shields, and ships make our best technology look like stone tools." Morrison felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Humanity had dreamed of meeting other intelligent species for centuries. Now that it had happened, he was not sure it was good news. 2 days later, while the Discovery was still studying the alien station, emergency signals began arriving from human space. The first message was from the colony at Ross 128-22, light years away. "This is Governor Patricia Wells of New Seattle Colony. We are under attack by unknown alien forces. Repeat, we are under attack. Multiple ships are bombing our cities from orbit. The defense platforms are not working against their weapons. Please send help." The signal cut to static. More messages followed in quick succession. New Berlin Colony, Tau Ceti Station, and the mining operation at Wolf 359 all reported sudden attacks by alien warships. The descriptions matched Vorthak ship designs. Morrison stared at the communications console in shock. While he had been talking peace with the aliens, they had been launching surprise attacks across human space. Millions of people were dying. The final message came on an open frequency, meant for any human ship that could receive it. Sub-Commander Zethric appeared on the screen, the same alien who had first contacted the Discovery. "Attention, humans. The Vorthak Dominion has decided that your species poses a threat to galactic order. Your uncontrolled expansion and chaotic nature cannot be tolerated. You have 72 hours to surrender all colonies and military vessels. Submit to Dominion rule, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will erase every trace of humanity from the galaxy. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Morrison realized that humanity had just learned the hardest lesson in galactic politics. Sometimes, first contact was also a declaration of war. Admiral Helen Cross sat in the emergency command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching the worst day in human history unfold on dozens of screens. Each display showed a different human colony under attack. Cities burned from orbit, while alien ships moved through space like deadly sharks. "Ma'am, we have confirmation from Proxima Station," reported Lieutenant Ben Rodriguez. The orbital defense platforms lasted less than 10 minutes against their weapons. The colony is requesting immediate evacuation. Cross rubbed her tired eyes. She had been awake for 36 hours straight, ever since the first attack report started coming in. "How many ships do they have?" "Intelligence estimates at least 3,000 warships, possibly more. They hit 12 colonies simultaneously, which means they planned this attack for months." The doors to the command center opened and President Daniel Hayes walked in, followed by his security team. The president looked older than his 58 years, with gray hair and lines of worry around his eyes. "Admiral, give me the full situation," Hayes said without ceremony. Cross stood and activated the main display. A three-dimensional map of human space appeared, showing their 17 star systems. Red markers indicated colonies under attack. Yellow showed evacuations in progress, and green marked the few systems still untouched. 12 colonies hit in the first wave. Total casualties are estimated at 2.3 million dead, with more dying every hour. The aliens are not targeting military installations first. They are bombing cities, spaceports, and civilian areas. "Genocide," Hayes said quietly. "They want to terrorize us into surrender." Defense Secretary Paul Griffin joined them at the display. "Our conventional weapons are almost useless against their ships. Their shields absorb everything we throw at them. Meanwhile, their energy weapons slice through our best armor like paper." Cross nodded grimly. "The Vorthak have been fighting wars for thousands of years. Their technology is superior in every way. We are facing extinction." President Hayes was quiet for a long moment, studying the tactical displays. "What about unconventional weapons? Nuclear missiles?" "We tried that at the Wolf 359 mining station," Griffin replied. "Direct nuclear hits barely scratched their hull plating. Their ships are built to survive in space for thousands of years. They can handle radiation and extreme temperatures that would destroy our vessels." A new alarm sounded and Lieutenant Rodriguez called out urgently. "Ma'am, we have an incoming transmission from the Vorthak fleet. They want to speak with our leadership." "Put it on the main screen," Hayes ordered. The display changed to show an alien that looked different from the ones Captain Morrison had met. This creature was larger, with additional scars and decorations marking him as a high-ranking military officer. "I am War Commander Malthusis of the Vorthak Dominion. I speak to the leaders of the human species." President Hayes stepped forward. "I am President Hayes of the Terran Federation. Why are you attacking our colonies? We offered peaceful contact." The alien's four eyes focused on Hayes with what might have been amusement. "Your Captain Morrison was useful for gathering intelligence about your species. The Dominion thanks him for providing detailed information about human technology and colony locations." Cross felt sick. Morrison had been trying to make peaceful contact while the aliens used him to plan their attack. "The Dominion has studied your species for several months," Malthusis continued. "You expand too quickly and without proper planning. You claim planets without permission from the rightful rulers of this galaxy. Your chaotic nature threatens the order we have maintained for 10,000 years. We are not your enemies," Hayes said. "Surely we can find a peaceful solution. The time for peace has passed. You have seen what happens to colonies that resist." Your weapons cannot harm our ships. Your defenses cannot stop our attacks. Surrender now, and the Dominion will allow some humans to survive as servants." Hayes straightened his shoulders. "The Terran Federation will never surrender to genocidal murderers. We will fight you with everything we have." War Commander Malthusis made a sound that might have been laughter. "Your bravery is noted, and will be remembered when we write the history of your extinct species. You have 48 hours to reconsider. After that, we begin the systematic destruction of every human world." The transmission ended. Defense Secretary Griffin was already working on his tablet. "We need to evacuate the outer colonies immediately and pull back to the core systems. Try to consolidate our defenses." "No," Admiral Cross said firmly. "If we give up territory without fighting, we show them we are weak. We make our stand here. And now." President Hayes looked around the command center at the faces of his military leaders. "What do we have to fight with?" Cross activated another display showing human military assets. The Terran Defense Fleet has 237 combat vessels of various sizes. Most are patrol ships and escorts designed for fighting pirates, not advanced alien warships. We have 18 heavy cruisers and 3 battleships that might last longer in combat. "Industrial capacity?" Hayes asked. "Our shipyards can build new vessels, but it takes months for each ship. The aliens probably build faster than we do." Dr. Amanda Foster entered the command center carrying a briefcase full of data tablets. She was the head of advanced weapons research and looked like she had not slept in days. "Mr. President, I have been analyzing the alien technology data that Captain Morrison's team gathered. We might have options." Hayes turned to her hopefully. "Tell me." "Their weapons are based on directed energy, probably plasma or particle beams. Very efficient and powerful. But all energy weapons have heat dissipation problems. If we can overload their cooling systems, we might be able to damage their ships." Griffin frowned. "How do we do that?" "We need to hit them with everything at once. Concentrate all our firepower on single targets instead of spreading it around. Force their defensive systems to work at maximum capacity until something breaks." Cross studied the tactical implications. "That means sacrificing ships to get close enough for concentrated attacks. Suicide missions." "Maybe not suicide," Foster replied. "I have been working on some modifications to our existing ships. Better armor, improved weapons, and new shield configurations. We cannot match their technology, but we can make our ships harder to kill." President Hayes made his decision. "Do it. How long do you need?" "Give me every engineer and technician you can find. I need access to all military shipyards and manufacturing facilities. If we work around the clock, I can have the first modified ships ready in 2 weeks." "You have whatever you need," Hayes said. "Admiral Cross, start pulling back non-essential colonies. Get the civilians to safety, but leave skeleton defense forces in place. Make the aliens think we are retreating in panic." "What about our people on the worlds they have already attacked?" Lieutenant Rodriguez asked. Cross looked at the tactical display showing the red markers of burning colonies. "We save who we can, but our priority has to be preventing total extinction. If we lose this war, everyone dies." Over the next week, human space became a nightmare of evacuations and desperate preparation. Cargo ships and passenger liners worked around the clock to move civilians away from the combat zones. Military engineers swarmed over every available warship, installing Dr. Foster's modifications and experimental weapons. Captain Jake Morrison brought the Discovery back to Earth orbit, where it was immediately sent to the construction yards. His ship would be one of the first to receive the new weapon systems. "I should have seen this coming," Morrison told Admiral Cross during a briefing. "They were too interested in our military capabilities. I handed them everything they needed to plan their attacks." "You followed proper first contact procedures," Cross replied. "No one could have predicted they would use diplomatic meetings as intelligence-gathering operations. 2 million people are dead because I trusted them." Cross put a hand on his shoulder. 2 million people are dead because the Vorthak are genocidal monsters. You are not responsible for their evil, but you can help us stop them. The Discovery was equipped with new shield generators, improved weapons, and additional armor plating. Morrison watched the engineers work and tried not to think about the impossible odds they faced. Colonel Steve Parker commanded the 1st Major Battle Group to engage the alien fleet. 25 human ships, all equipped with the latest modifications, moved to intercept a Vorthak force attacking the mining colony at Barnard Star. The battle lasted 4 hours. Human ships used coordinated attacks and suicide runs to try to overwhelm individual alien vessels. They managed to destroy 3 Vorthak ships and damage several others, but at a terrible cost. 19 human ships were destroyed. Colonel Parker's flagship was cut in half by alien weapons, killing him and his entire crew, the 6 surviving. Human vessels retreated in defeat, but the humans had learned something important. The aliens could be hurt. Their ships were not invulnerable. With enough firepower concentrated in the right place, Vorthak vessels could be destroyed. War Commander Malthusis broadcast another message to the remaining human colonies. You have fought bravely but uselessly. Your weapons. During a strategy conference. We are forcing them to fight a kind of war they have never experienced. Every victory makes them more desperate. Can barely scratch our hulls while ours destroy you easily. Surrender now and spare your species further suffering. President Hayes responded personally from the White House, his message broadcast across human space and beyond. The Terran F2, years into the war, Captain Lisa Barnes stood on the bridge of her ship, the USS Defiance, watching a Vorthak patrol fleet through her tactical displays. She had been promoted to command her own vessel after Jake Morrison died in the Battle of Kepler Station, along with most of the original Discovery crew. 6 enemy ships, standard patrol formation, reported her tactical officer. Heavy cruiser in the center, 5 escorts around it. Barnes studied the display. In the early days of the war, 6 Vorthak ships would have been considered impossible odds. But humans had been learning, adapting, and changing their tactics faster than anyone thought possible. Engineering, are the modifications ready? She asked. Chief Engineer Tony Clark's voice came through the intercom. All systems green, Captain. The new weapon pods are charged and the shield modifications are online. The Defiance looked nothing like the sleek exploration vessel it had once been. Human engineers had bolted additional armor plating to its hull, installed experimental weapon systems, and modified its engines for better acceleration. It was ugly but functional, like most human warships these days. Take us in, Barnes ordered. Remember, we hit the escorts first and work our way to the center. The Vorthak had been fighting wars for thousands of years using the same basic strategies. Their ships formed precise geometric patterns and followed algorithmic battle plans that had worked against dozens of other species. But humans refused to follow the expected patterns. The Defiance approached the alien formation at an angle no military computer would recommend, using a flight path that looked random but was carefully calculated. Barnes had learned that Vorthak tactical systems had trouble predicting human behavior because humans often did things that made no logical sense. Incoming transmission from the enemy fleet, reported Lieutenant Sarah Johnson from Communications. Let's hear it, Barnes said. The main screen showed a familiar sight. A Vorthak commander with the usual scars and decorations. Human vessel, you are outnumbered 6-1. Surrender and your crew will be granted quick deaths. Barnes smiled coldly. This is Captain Barnes of the Terran Defense Force. We don't surrender to genocidal monsters. If you want our ship, come and take it. The alien's 4 eyes blinked in. Sequence which Barnes had learned was a sign of confusion. You cannot possibly win this engagement. Our ships are superior to yours in every way. Your ships are better, Barnes agreed. But your tactics are predictable and your crews think like machines. That's going to get you killed. The Vorthak. Commander cut the transmission and ordered his fleet to attack in standard formation. Barnes watched them approach in the same precise patterns they had used in every battle for the past 2 years. All ships, execute Plan Charlie, Barnes transmitted to the 3 other human vessels that had been hiding behind a nearby asteroid. The Vorthak expected to fight 1 human ship. Instead, they suddenly faced 4 vessels attacking from different angles, using weapons they had never seen before. The human ships had been modified with parts from destroyed alien vessels, creating hybrid technology that confused Vorthak's sensors. The battle lasted 20 minutes. 2 human ships were destroyed, but all 6 Vorthak vessels were either destroyed or crippled. For the first time in the war, humans had achieved a decisive victory against superior numbers. Back on Earth, Dr. Amanda Foster was working 18-hour days in her laboratory, surrounded by pieces of captured alien technology. She had been studying Vorthak systems for 2 years and was beginning to understand how they thought about warfare. The problem with the aliens is that they are too perfect, she explained to Admiral Cross during a briefing. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it is also incredibly specialized. Every system is designed to work in exactly one way. Cross looked at the dissected alien weapons on Foster's workbench. How does that help us? Human technology is messier but more adaptable. We build things that can be modified, repaired, and used in ways we never originally planned. When our shields fail, we reroute power from other systems. When our weapons break, we improvise new ones from spare parts. Foster picked up a human plasma rifle that had been modified with alien components. This weapon uses Vorthak focusing crystals in a human power system. It should not work according to their engineering principles, but it does. Their computers cannot predict what it will do because it is based on our chaotic approach to design. Admiral Cross was beginning to understand. We are not trying to build better technology than theirs. We are building technology that is too unpredictable for their systems to counter. Exactly. Their tactical computers are designed to fight enemies that use logical, consistent strategies. But humans do not always use logical strategies. Sometimes we do things that seem crazy but work anyway. Dr. Foster was not the only human making important discoveries. On the industrial world of New Detroit, engineer Marcus Webb was revolutionizing human manufacturing capabilities. The aliens take 6 months to build a single warship, Webb explained to his factory workers. They use automated systems that follow precise specifications and cannot be changed once they start the process. Webb pointed to the massive factory floor where human workers swarmed over partially completed ships. We can build a ship in 6 weeks, and we can modify it while we are building it. When we get new intelligence about enemy capabilities, we change our designs immediately. The difference was becoming obvious throughout human space. Vorthak fleets moved slowly and predictably, following ancient patterns and using ships that had not changed in centuries. Human fleets appeared suddenly in unexpected places, using new tactics and weapons that the aliens had never encountered before. Commander Rick Taylor, now leading his own battle group, pioneered the hit-and-run attacks that became standard human strategy. His ships would appear out of hyperspace, strike at Vorthak supply lines, and disappear before the aliens could respond effectively. The key is never to fight them the way they expect, Taylor told his captains during a strategy meeting. If they expect a direct assault, we use stealth. If they expect us to run away, we attack. Keep them confused and off balance. The Vorthak tried to adapt to human tactics, but their rigid command structure made rapid changes impossible. Every tactical modification had to be approved by higher-ranking commanders, processed through military bureaucracy, and distributed to their fleets. The process took weeks. Humans made tactical changes in the middle of battles. Captain Rodriguez, now an admiral commanding the defense of the Tau Ceti system, discovered another crucial weakness in Vorthak's strategy. During a major engagement, he noticed that alien ships always responded to threats in order of priority, with the largest enemy vessels getting attention first. They ignore small ships until the big ones are dealt with. Rodriguez reported to Fleet Command. "We can use that against them." The next time Vorthak forces attacked Tau Ceti, they faced a fleet composed mostly of small, fast ships with powerful weapons. The alien battle computers focused on the few human heavy cruisers, while dozens of smaller vessels swarmed around them like angry bees. The Vorthak fleet was destroyed with minimal human losses. Dr. Claire Watson, working in the xenobiology lab on Luna Base, made perhaps the most important discovery of all. She had been studying captured Vorthak prisoners and had identified a crucial flaw in their species. "They are not really individuals the way humans are," Watson explained to President Hayes during a secure video conference. "They have been genetically modified for thousands of years to eliminate creativity and independent thinking." Hayes leaned forward. "What does that mean for the war?" "It means they literally cannot understand how we think. Their brains are wired for conformity and following orders. When we do something unexpected, it causes them genuine confusion because they cannot imagine thinking that way." Watson brought up brain scans on her display. "Look at this comparison between human and Vorthak neural activity. See how scattered and chaotic the human patterns are? That represents creativity, independent thought, and the ability to improvise. The Vorthak patterns are neat and organized but completely predictable. They turn themselves into biological machines," Hayes realized. "Exactly. They are very efficient biological machines, but they cannot adapt to new situations the way we can. Every time we surprise them, it takes their command structure longer to figure out how to respond." The implications were staggering. The Vorthak Dominion had conquered dozens of species over thousands of years, but they had never faced an enemy that thought as chaotically as humans did. Their entire military doctrine was based on fighting predictable opponents. By the end of the second year, human forces were achieving consistent victories in small engagements. Vorthak patrol fleets learned to avoid human ships when possible. Supply convoys started traveling with heavy escorts. The aliens were becoming defensive for the first time in their history. War Commander Malthusis transmitted another message to human leadership. But this time, his tone was different. The casual arrogance was gone, replaced by something that might have been concern. "Human leaders the do," during a strategy conference. "We are forcing them to fight a kind of war they have never experienced. Every victory makes them more desperate." Admiral Lisa Barnes stood on the bridge of the UFS Retribution, flagship of the largest human fleet ever assembled, as they approached the Vorthak home system. 4 years of war had led to this moment, the final assault on the heart of the alien empire that had tried to exterminate humanity. "Fleet status?" Barnes requested. Her tactical officer, Commander Jake Adams, consulted the massive holographic display. 823 ships in attack formation, Admiral. All battle groups report ready for combat." Barnes looked at the tactical display showing the enemy system. The Vorthak homeworld was protected by defenses built over thousands of years. Orbital fortresses, automated weapon platforms, and the largest concentration of alien warships ever assembled in one place. "Intelligence estimates?" she asked. "Over 1,500 enemy ships plus fixed defenses. They have pulled forces from across their empire to protect their homeworld." Captain Rodriguez, now serving as Barnes's strategic advisor, studied the enemy formations. "They are using their traditional defensive patterns, but on a massive scale. Every approach vector is covered by overlapping fields of fire." Barnes nodded. The Vorthak were making their final stand using the same rigid tactics that had failed them throughout the war. "Dr. Foster, are your special weapons ready?" Dr. Amanda Foster, now serving aboard the flagship as the fleet's chief science officer, checked her instruments. "All chaos field generators are online. The virus packages are loaded and ready for transmission." The chaos field generators were Foster's latest innovation, devices that created random electromagnetic interference designed to confuse Vorthak computer systems. The virus packages were even more ingenious, computer programs specifically written to exploit the rigid programming of alien systems. "Begin the assault," Barnes ordered, What followed was unlike any battle in the history of warfare. Instead of approaching the enemy system in organized formations, the human fleet scattered into hundreds of small groups that attacked from every possible angle simultaneously. Captain Sarah Miller led the first wave, her squadron of fast attack, ships diving through the outer defenses at impossible angles. The Vorthak defensive computers, programmed to handle predictable attack patterns, struggled to track hundreds of ships moving in chaotic formations. "This is Miller to all attack groups," she transmitted. "Remember, we are not trying to fight their big ships directly. Hit the automated systems first and let their own defenses work against them." Her ships launched specially designed missiles that did not explode on impact. Instead, they attached to Vorthak defense platforms and began broadcasting the chaos signals that Foster's team had developed. Within minutes, automated weapon systems throughout the alien defensive network began firing at random targets, including each other. Meanwhile, Captain Johnson led a group of converted cargo ships in what appeared to be a desperate frontal assault on the main alien fleet. The Vorthak concentrated their firepower on these obvious threats, while smaller human vessels slipped past their defenses and began attacking supply ships and command vessels. The battle evolved into complete chaos within hours. Vorthak forces, trained to fight organized enemies using predictable tactics, found themselves facing hundreds of independent human groups that refused to follow any logical pattern. Admiral Barnes coordinated the assault from her flagship, but she was not giving detailed orders to individual ships. Human commanders had learned to think independently and adapt to changing situations faster than any centralized command system could manage. "Admiral, we are penetrating their inner defenses," reported Commander Adams. "Multiple task forces have reached orbital distance of their homeworld." Barnes watched the tactical display as human ships swarmed through gaps in the alien defenses. The Vorthak had expected to fight a traditional space battle with clear battle lines and organized fleets. Instead, they faced a chaotic swarm of attackers that overwhelmed their command systems. Dr. Foster activated her virus packages, transmitting them to every Vorthak computer system the human fleet could reach. The viruses were designed to exploit the rigid programming that made alien systems so predictable. "Virus deployment successful," Foster reported. "We are getting reports of system failures throughout their network. The viruses did not destroy Vorthak computers directly. Instead, they introduced random elements that the rigid alien programming could not handle. Defense platforms began targeting their own ships. Supply computers started issuing contradictory orders. Communication systems broadcast confusing messages. Captain Clark led a boarding party that captured one of the orbital fortresses intact. Inside, they found Vorthak technicians staring helplessly at control systems that were displaying error messages in their own language. "They have no idea how to fix systems that are not working according to their programmed parameters," Clark reported. "Their technology is incredibly advanced, but they have no understanding of how to repair or modify it when something goes wrong." The psychological impact on Vorthak forces was devastating. For thousands of years, they had relied on their superior technology and rigid military doctrine to win battles. Now their own systems were turning against them, and their commanders had no experience dealing with such complete chaos. War Commander Malthusis broadcast a desperate message to all Vorthak forces. "All ships fall back to the inner system. Implement Defensive Protocol 7 Alpha and await orders from High Command." But the rigid command structure that had once been the Dominion's strength now became their weakness. Ships waited for orders that never came, because communication systems were compromised. Commanders followed outdated protocols that were useless against human tactics. Human forces pressed their advantage ruthlessly. Captain Barnes led her battle group in a direct assault on the alien fleet, while smaller task forces attacked targets throughout the system. "Target their command ships first," Barnes ordered. "Without central coordination, their fleet cannot adapt to our tactics." The battle for the Vorthak home system lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the alien empire's main fleet had been destroyed. Their orbital defenses were in ruins, and their home world was defenseless. But Admiral Barnes was not finished. "Open a channel to the planetary surface," she ordered. The main screen showed an alien that was obviously a high-ranking leader, probably the Emperor himself. He looked older than the Vorthak they had encountered before, with additional scars and decorations marking his status. "I am Emperor Corvex of the Vorthak. Dominion," the alien said. "We demand to negotiate the terms of our surrender." Barnes stepped forward, her expression cold and determined. "Your Excellency, the Terran Federation does not negotiate with genocidal murderers. You started this war by attacking our civilians without provocation. You have murdered millions of innocent humans." The Emperor's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "The Dominion maintained order in this region of space for 10,000 years. Without our guidance, chaos will consume the galaxy. Your version of order included exterminating 43 different species," Barnes replied. "We have seen the records. You are not peacekeepers. You are mass murderers who convinced yourselves that genocide was necessary for galactic stability." Barnes paused, then continued with quiet intensity. "You told us that our species was too chaotic and unpredictable to be allowed to exist. You were wrong. Our chaos and unpredictability are exactly what allowed us to defeat your empire." The Emperor tried one last, desperate appeal. "Human Commander, you do not understand the forces we have held in check. There are ancient threats sleeping in deep space, things that will awaken now that the Dominion is gone. Your victory will bring destruction to the entire galaxy." Barnes smiled grimly. "Maybe it will. But at least the galaxy will face that future as free peoples, not as your slaves or corpses. And if ancient threats do emerge, we will deal with them the same way we dealt with you." She signaled to her communications officer. "Cut the transmission. Begin planetary bombardment of military targets only. I want their war-making capability completely destroyed." The bombardment lasted 6 hours. Human ships systematically destroyed, every military installation, weapons factory, and spaceport on the Vorthak homeworld. Civilian areas were left untouched, but the alien empire's ability to wage war was eliminated forever. Dr. Foster monitored the bombardment from her science station. "Admiral, we are detecting massive system failures throughout their technology network. The virus packages have spread to their planetary infrastructure." "What kind of failures?" Barnes asked. "Everything from traffic control to food distribution systems. Their entire civilization was built on rigid automated systems that cannot handle unexpected input. The viruses are causing cascading failures throughout their society. Within days, reports came in from throughout Vorthak space. Their empire was collapsing as automated systems failed, and local commanders found themselves unable to maintain order without guidance from central command. Some Vorthak colonies surrendered immediately to approaching human forces. Others simply abandoned their planets and fled into deep space. A few attempted to continue fighting, but isolated Vorthak. Ships were no match for human battle groups. Captain Rodriguez led